This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, very good morning. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, sir. Good morning, sir. Hello.
Yeah, Chandra, very good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Tell me.
Yeah. So nothing. I think now I have the option of recording. So I will start the recording. Hold on.
Yeah, already started, sir.
No, here I can see recording is off. It's not recording, Chandra.
Okay, but I see the icon is pause recording.
Uh,
Okay, just a minute, sir. I restart the recording.
sure, sure.
This conference will now be recorded.
Check on, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's recording. I can see that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
sir.
Thanks, Chandra.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So Sachin will wait for 2 more minutes, and then if Rahul comes, then
Yeah, yes, sir. No problem.
yeah. So Rahul is joining in few minutes. So we'll wait.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Rahul. Just give me a moment. Okay, cool. So let me share my screen. Okay, so you guys can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so till yesterday, what we have done was we have successfully built a 4 queue manager cluster where QM1 and QM2 are full repositories, QM3 and QM4 they are the partial repositories. So we can see that when we add QM3 into the queue manager by pointing to QM1, it has created a auto cluster sender channel to another full repository which is QM2, and when we add QM4 into the cluster by pointing to QM2, it has created another auto cluster sender by pointing to QM1, and we can see all the queue managers are now in the cluster and all the channels are now up and running. So if I go to the server, so this is the server. So see, there are 4 queue managers which are in our cluster. So if I go to QM1, if I check display class QMGR and QM type command, I can see fine. There are 4 queue managers in the cluster where QM1, QM2 are the full repositories, QM3, QM4 are the partial repositories. And also I can see all the channels in the queue in this queue manager are now running. There is no retrain channel. So there is a connection to QM2, there is a connection to QM3. Oh, there is no connection to QM4. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Now, if I go to QM2, we do get the same output. So if I do display plus QMGR, QM2, sorry, QM type, I can see all the 4 queue managers and I can see all the channels are up and running. So there is a cluster sender pointing to QM1 from QM3. This one we have manually created in QM3, and there is a cluster sender pointing to QM4. This is auto created. Okay, so when we go to QM3, output will come like so. As being QM3 is a partial repository, if I do display plus QMG or QM type, then it will show full repositories information and its own information. It will never show QM4 information because QM4 is a partial repository, and right now QM3 does not have any necessity to connect to QM4, and also there is no physical connectivity between QM3 and QM4. So from QM3 we can see a cluster sender to QM2, a cluster sender to QM1, and a self-pointing cluster receiver. That's it. So there is no communication to QM4. Now, if I go to QM4, which is another partial repository, if I execute display class QMG or QM type command, now it is showing the full repositories and its own information. It is not reflecting QM3 information because right now QM4 does not have any necessity to connect to QM3. So that is the reason if I do display CHS command, there would be no communication to QM3. See, there is a communication to QM2 through cluster sender, and there is a communication to QM1 through cluster sender, and there is no communication to QM3. So this is the cluster setup we have. Fine. Now, in today's session, we are really going to do, okay, now we have built a cluster, but what is the purpose of cluster? What you are going to achieve? So as you remember, in the beginning of the cluster session, what are the advantages of clusters we have seen? So there are certain limitations in the point-to-point setup. To overcome those limitations, we are going to build a cluster. So number one, the first challenge is human efforts are needed more and more for the administration because objects will be increasing in the point-to-point setup whenever architecture is increasing. Now there is no high availability. It means in sending and receiving queue manager, if a sending queue manager is down, that's it. The receiving queue manager, there is no way that it can receive the message. This is another challenge. Now workload cannot be done among MQQs. So it means if a receiving queue receives 1 million messages or 100 million messages, each and every load it has to handle on its own. There is no other queue manager that it can share its workload. So that feasibility is not there in point-to-point setup. Now in today's session, we are going to achieve all these things. Now we have a cluster setup, right? So in today's session, what we are going to do is, okay, Now we are going to working with the clustered queues. Now we are going to a deep dive into a ocean called clusters. So now we already built the ocean. Now we are going inside the ocean. So what we are going to do is, so in this lecture, so we are going to learn about the queue cluster command. So till now we know about queue manager cluster command, but now we are going to learn queue cluster command. Then we are going to create a local queue in a partial repository called QM4. It means we are going to create a local queue in this queue manager. So this queue manager is a QM4 and make it as a member of the cluster training so that that local queue will become a member in that particular cluster. So try to put a message in the cluster queue from all the queue managers of the cluster, and then we are going to observe what is going to happen in the cluster. It means we are going to create a local queue in QM4 and we are going to make it as a member of the cluster, and we are going to put the message from QM4, from QM2, from QM1 and from QM3, and let's see is this possible or not to put, or what's happening when we put the messages in a cluster queue from other queue managers of the same cluster. So that is what we are going to observe. And observing the creation of auto created cluster sender channels and manually created cluster sender channel. So this point we have already seen yesterday. So there are certain commands to create manually created cluster senders and auto created cluster senders. So this is what we are going to see. So the first thing is what we are going to do is we are going to create a local queue in the partial repository QM4. I am going to create it in QM4. So I will open the notepad. I will write down the commands there. Already commands are there, right? Yeah, here are our commands. Yeah, here are our commands. So the first thing what we are going to do is, okay, learn about queue cluster command. So first of all, let's deal with this. So the thing is, if I want to know if any cluster queues are there in this entire cluster, so the command is display queue cluster. So this command will show you if any queues are there as a member of the cluster. To display all cluster queues in the cluster. So it's not only in the queue manager, but in the entire cluster. Okay. So right now I am going to execute the same command in QM1. So first of all, I will go to full repository called QM1. I will execute the command display queue cluster. So QM1 full repository showing IBM MQ object not found. It means in cluster level there are no queues. Now I will go to QM2. So in QM2 also definitely will get the same output, guys, because QM1, QM2 both are full repositories and they both contain the same information. So display queue cluster, display queue cluster, no objects found. Now if I go to QM3, which is a partial repository, display queue cluster, nothing. So if I go to queue manager for display queue cluster, there is nothing, right? Okay. Now I am going to create a local queue in QM4, which is a partial repository, and I will make it as a member of the cluster training. So the thing is, I am going inside QM4. So I am going to create a local queue called define queue local. Let's assume the queue local name is QL4. Done. Guys, just give me 1 second. Just 1 second, guys. Hi, Chandra.
Yeah, hi, sir.
Can you check if it is recording? Because I don't see that recording option is enabled.
Okay, sir. Okay. నేను లీవ్ అయ్యాక అది ఆగిపోతుంది సార్ రికార్డింగ్ ఆప్షన్.
I think so.
ఓకే సార్. సార్ నేను మళ్ళీ రీస్టార్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను సార్ రికార్డింగ్.
Yeah, please.
ఇప్పుడు వచ్చిందా సార్?
Now I can see recording is off. Recording button enable అయింది, but I can say recording is off. Can you start recording?
ఓకే.
Or else can you stop recording and try to restart it again?
స్టాప్ రికార్డింగ్ అని వస్తున్నాను సార్.
Yeah, start recording option is there.
ఓకే సార్. స్టార్ట్ రికార్డింగ్ అని మాత్రం లేదండి.
స్టార్ట్ రికార్డింగ్ ఉంది, బట్ అది నాకు ఏంటంటే నాకు ఆ ఆప్షన్ గ్రేడ్ అవుట్ లో ఉంది. ఐ ఆమ్ నాట్ హ్యావింగ్ అథరైజేషన్ టు సెలెక్ట్ దట్ ఆప్షన్.
ఓకే సార్, ఒకసారి నేను చెక్ చేస్తున్నాను ల్యాప్టాప్ లో చెక్
You
చేస్తాను.
just stop it once and then start it again.
ఓకే సార్.
And then don't leave the meeting. If you leave the meeting, it is going to stop.
ఓకే సార్. ఓకే.
Yeah.
మీటింగ్ ఒకసారి రిస్టార్ట్.
Sorry.
మీటింగ్ ఒకసారి రిస్టార్ట్ చేయనా సార్?
Meeting restart చేస్తారా? Fine, no problem. చేయండి.
అంటే ఆల్రెడీ రికార్డ్ అయిందా లేదా ఒకసారి చెక్ చేద్దాం.
Okay.
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Yeah. So Rahul and Sachin, we are restarting the meeting because GoToMeeting having some issues. So if you got disconnected, you can rejoin again.
Okay.